Thank you very much for being here. And I want to stress that I'm not an expert on internal affairs of Spain. I'm an expert on the EU, but I'm also an expert on democracy, maybe a little bit more hands-on than what we just heard. But I think we agree a lot. We didn't coordinate anything, I can assure you. But I have designed my intervention like a set of questions. So if you have your pen ready to take notes. That's what I always tell my students. So
this is an interview.
It's an interview, yes. Yeah. And I would say that normally I don't have that many students in my class, but it's nice to see so many. But I would also like actually to start with democracy, and then maybe make the question a bit more direct, in the sense of asking how you define it. You're not allowed to answer until I'm done. So just how you define democracy. Is it only referenda and opinion polls and voting, or is it also the rule of law and the Constitution? Because what I have understood from following the debate in Spain, and now I do interfere a little bit in the Spanish situation, and forgive me for that, I know there's a lot of Catalans here, independence people. I was wondering, to my knowledge, you have voted for the Constitution, the Spanish Constitution in Catalonia. And should that Constitution not also be respected? Is that not also democracy? So that would be my first question. And the second one in relation to that is the fact that only 43% showed up to vote for independence. Does that not have an impact on the legitimacy of that vote to you? I would like to hear your opinion on that. I know that was a big majority voting for independence, but the fact that a minority showed up, it does stress what Christian also said about the unionists, the ones wanting to stay in Spain, that they are perhaps not being heard so much. What you also hear from the situation in Catalonia, which is a wonderful place, by the way, I think all Danes, and thank you for all the praise for Denmark, is that a lot of them have been afraid to take part in the debate about the issue, and have been feeling that they were the silent minority. I think we can agree that 50-50 is the division in Catalonia at the moment in terms of wanting to leave Spain and not. So I would like your reflections on that. What is democracy? Isn't it also the Constitution? And should the Constitution not be respected? I think that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people have said that this is an internal Spanish matter. I'll get back to that. What we are seeing today is a situation where approximately half of the Catalonians, and I do not want to go into percentages about how many voted for or against. I know it's a very narrow majority you have in the parliament right now. But the fact that only a very narrow majority wants to go in this direction, is that not problematic when it comes to securing the rights of those who do not want independence? And also, if I may be a little bit provocative, are your style and the way you have conducted this whole process not contributing to polarizing the Spanish society and the Catalonian discussion? You say you want to negotiate with Rajoy and the government, but the whole style of rushing into a referendum, declaring it on the same day, where half of the parliament leaves and boycotts it, is that not, in your opinion, also a very provocative move that may contribute to escalating the whole discussion? So that kind of questions, I think, are important to confront. I also think that we in Denmark are a bit puzzled, and I think in many parts of Europe are a bit puzzled about whether what you are really going for is still independence. Do you stick to what you said on the 1st of October when you declared that? But also, what is this urge for independence? Where does it come from? To my knowledge, Catalonia is the richest region in Spain. Are you just spoiled? Wanting to get rid of all the poor? And also, to my knowledge, the kind of decentralized regime you have in Spain is more decentralized than the federal state of Germany. But you may not agree to that, of course. We can get back to that. So moving to Europe, I would actually like to hear your vision of the European Union. You said a lot of interesting things in your intervention about the EU. On the one hand, you blame the EU for siding with Rajoy. I understand that, of course, from your perspective. But on the other hand, you also say that you are very much in favor of the European Union and the whole European project, and that you're hoping that you will have support and more support in the future. But if we take our point of departure in what you were actually saying earlier about independence, what are you envisioning about the European integration process? Is it a Balkanization that is your ideal? What do I mean by that? I actually mean the same as what Christian, my colleague, suggested about ethnic cleaned states. Hundreds of them working together. Is that your ideal? I'm sorry I'm provoking, but that's why I'm here, right? Is that your vision, that we should break up Europe in hundreds, 200 states? How much do you want? That are all clean in the sense of having only one identity? Is that what you want? Is that what you're striving for? And if it is, I'm very worried, and I understand that I understand that the European Union is really, really nervous about your mission. It does call back memories. Well, the reason why I use Balkanization is, of course, that the only way we could solve the crisis of ex-Yugoslavia was to, build states that were clean. I think it's a very dangerous way to move. I think it was a big failure, even though it was the only solution at the time. And is that what we want in the 21st century? Is that to have small states that are based only on one language and one ethnicity, identity, whatever you want to call it? Is that your perspective? And what about stability? Are you reflecting about at all when you go to sleep at night? Maybe you have some more interesting stuff to think about. But are you ever thinking about how instability might be the effect of your project in terms of inspiring other regions in Europe to do the same? And a domino effect that will end up undermining the EU? There's lots of people out there who are inspired by what you're doing. Are you happy about that, or are you nervous about that? Could like to hear your comment. And who actually benefits from more independent states in Europe? Well, I think a lot of people in here would agree with me that Vladimir Putin would certainly be happy if that was to be the case. Breaking Europe up, having hundreds of small entities, nobody could agree on anything. I don't know if that is also too provoking for you to answer. I'm afraid of the crowd starting to scream soon. So, do you expect Catalonia in the future to become a member of the EU? Is that your expectation? Is that your hope? I think it's your hope, but do you think it will happen? Considering that Catalonia has been pretty alone in its fight for independence. And of course you blame Rajoy and you blame Spain. But to be quite frank, also tomorrow I know that very few Danish politicians from the government want to meet you. A lot of people are afraid of sort of pushing in this direction. What are your reflections on that? Not being sort of embraced by a lot of European leaders.
Of course, if you look the papers, yes, you are right. Spanish is a democracy. If you look the papers, but I think you must look the facts, the reality, because you know in the last elections, curiously, the Spanish authorities has prohibited a banner saying only democracy. That shows a very engaged state to democratic values. What kind of problem has the Spanish state, this exemplary democracy, with the word democracy? Why? Why is prohibited? That is the fact. Is any law in Spain saying it's not possible to write democracy? No, of course not. But what's the reality? It's prohibited. So it's full of these examples in Spain, and I invite you to know more deeply the reality. The reality, because probably some of your sentence will be a little different. I will try to answer all of the questions. I think I'm afraid
it's not
an
exam,
but well,